This is Arkies in the Beltway, a look at national politics and the Arkansans influencing the discussions. I'm Alex Thomas, Washington Correspondent for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, reporting from the nation's capital. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of May 12, 2024. Civil rights leader, journalist, author, publisher. Those words etched on the pedestal supporting the bronze statue of Daisy Lee Gatson Bates at the U.S. Capitol. Arkansas and national political leaders helped unveil the statue last Wednesday in the Capitol's National Statuary Hall, 5 years after state officials agreed to remove Arkansas's two previous statues from Capitol Hill. The National Statuary Hall Collection has statues of figures from all 50 states. Legislators and governors have power over the installation and removal of their respective states' two allotted statues. Bates, the 13th woman and second black American, recognized with a state-authorized statue. House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson, noting the woman respectively referred to as Mrs. Bates, has a rightful place in the halls of the Capitol.
Our Capitol is filled with monuments to our history, and those inside teach us about where we were, where we are, and where we are going as a people. We've had Roger Williams at Providence, Washington at Mount Vernon, Lincoln at Gettysburg, and starting today, we have Daisy Bates at Little Rock.
Bates may best be known for her involvement with efforts to desegregate Little Rock Central High School, but she developed her reputation fighting for social justice while running the Arkansas State Press, a weekly newspaper covering issues affecting black Arkansans, with her husband, L.C. In 1952, she began leading Arkansas's NAACP chapter as its president. This statue has Bates walking forward, holding a copy of the Arkansas State Press in her left hand with a pen and notepad in her right hand. On her left lapel, she has an NAACP pin and a rose. The latter is a reference to Bates' own comparison of her growth to a blossoming flower. Charles King, the president of the Daisy Bates House Museum Foundation Board, referenced poet Langston Hughes in saying Bates sang America, fighting for racial equality in a period when few voices spoke in favor of civil rights.
So it appears that the America that Daisy sang and the America that America sang were two different songs. Until today.
Bates solidified her standing, serving as a mentor to 9 black students attempting to enroll at Central High School in September 1957. The Bates House served as a gathering place, with Bates giving instructions on addressing intimidation from then-Governor Orville Faubus, the Arkansas National Guard, and angry white supporters of racial segregation. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders recalled as a teenager celebrating the 40th anniversary of the desegregation of Central High School, watching President Bill Clinton and her father, then Governor Mike Huckabee, open the doors of the school for the Little Rock Nine.
But as much as I look back on that day in 1997 with fond memories, we can never forget the scene from 40 years earlier. The crowds weren't cheering, they were booing. The president had taken control of the National Guard, and the governor promised to shut the school down before he integrated it. The 9 students were harassed, they were hurt, and they were haunted.
Ray Mosley remembers the efforts to desegregate Central High School. He covered the Little Rock Nine and the pro-segregation protest as a reporter for the Arkansas Gazette.
It was a pivotal moment in the transformation of Arkansas into the kind of state that it is now.
Arkansas had not given a statue to the National Statuary Hall Collection in more than a century before last Wednesday. The natural state sent statues of Uriah Rose and James Paul Clark to the U.S. Capitol in 1917 and 1921, respectively. Those statues had received increased scrutiny in recent years. Rose was instrumental in the creation of the American Bar Association, yet he held sympathetic views supporting the Confederacy. Clark served as governor and U.S. senator, but vouched for upholding what he called the white standards of civilization. The Arkansas legislature passed a measure during its 2019 session to replace the Rose and Clark statues with figures honoring Bates and country music icon Johnny Cash. Then Governor Asa Hutchinson signed that bill into law. Hutchinson was well aware of the former statues, having passed by Rose and Clark during his time in the U.S. House of Representatives.
It's emotional, and it's very gratifying to see Arkansas praise somebody and recognize somebody that was previously fought, that was previously opposed, and Daisy Bates was right.
Benjamin Victor of Boise, Idaho is the person responsible for crafting the Bates statue. He has 3 other statues in the National Statuary Hall Collection, having done work for Nebraska, Iowa, and Nevada.
You can't study her life and the story of the Little Rock Nine without feeling empathy for that horrible ugliness that hate brings with it. And hopefully that just bleeds out into our society, and we have more and more people that are in love with the idea of, hey, we're all equal and we love one another, regardless of skin color, race, creed, religion, any of that.
Crews removed the Rose and Clark statues from the Capitol on April 5th in preparation for installing the new statues. Workers installed the Bates statue in National Statuary Hall on May 3rd at the spot where the Rose statue once stood. Officials are eyeing September for installing and unveiling the Cash statue. Shane Broadway was able to get glances of the Bates statue before the move through his role as chairman of Arkansas's National Statuary Hall Steering Committee. Even with those viewings, seeing the Bates statue arrive was a moving moment.
That was the first time I'd ever seen her put together in person. And so I think it was all, kind of a moment. I mean, we poured a lot of work into 5 years, to get here. So to actually have that moment where she's on that pedestal was an emotional moment for all of us.
Wednesday's ceremony was packed with Arkansans who traveled to see the statue unveiled. A choir of alumni from the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff and Philander Smith University honored Bates with the hymnal Guide My Feet. Both universities are historic black institutions. Philander Smith University is located on West Daisy Lee Gatson Bates Drive in Little Rock. Mosley is among those who left Wednesday's ceremony touched.
It's been a very emotional experience for me. I just feel very privileged to have been present.
Next to the Bates statue is a statue honoring Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Mississippi gifted that figure to the collection in 1931. But across National Statuary Hall are 2 statues of other important civil rights leaders. A statue of Rosa Parks, which Congress commissioned in 2005, and a statue of educator Mary McLeod Bethune, who became the first black person with a state-commissioned statue when Florida gave the sculpture to the collection in July 2022. Representative French Hill of Little Rock took note of Bates' location.
She stands tall in this room now, Mr. Leader, as she looks across Statuary Hall into the eyes of Rosa Parks across the way. Thank all of you for coming together today to honor the life and legacy of Daisy Bates. This statue in the U.S. Capitol will indelibly etch Daisy's place in American history, in our pride, and at this time. She was the best that we have to offer. Thank you all for being here today.
Bates' place in American history, her fight against racial injustice, and her resolve in the face of threats and intimidation, captured in bronze and represented with the statue and its platform. On the side of the statue's pedestal is the following Bates quote: "No man or woman who tries to pursue an ideal in his or her own way is without enemies." And that'll do it for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of May 12th, 2024. You can stay up to date with all news involving Arkansas at arkansasonline.com. You can get in touch with me on social media. My handle is @AlexHouseThomas. Special thanks as always to the team down in Little Rock. I'm Alex Thomas, and this has been Arkies in the Beltway. Thanks for listening.